Good evening and welcome to the Writing Gals, where we are we need to come up with a better tagline because I do this every time. 4 sweet romance authors staying up late. And tonight we have Savino with us, and she's going to talk to us all about brand and how to become a 6-figure author by being intentional. So we're very excited to learn from her. But first, we're going to talk about what we are doing right now. So Judy, why don't you start us off?
Okay, so I just barely finished my reader magnet this week, finally, and I sent that to my editor, so that was exciting, and I am just barely about to finish my outline for my next book in my Ridgewater High series, and hoping that I can get that written quickly, so that's what I've been doing.
Very cool. We were very excited. This is her first short book ever. So we're super proud of Judy that she wrote short.
I know. I have a goal to not add social issues into the next few books.
So they come out faster.
Yeah, so I can rapidly release a little bit better.
Yeah, you're going to do awesome. All right, Victorine, why don't you tell us what's going on with you?
Well, I am super excited because I finished the Sweetwater High book I was working on. Yay! So that's going to come out in July, right?
Yes. Maybe?
Yes, July. I think that's when it's scheduled, beginning of July. But I wanted to get it done because it was one I had a deadline on. And the rest of mine, I can, just leisurely write what I want to write. But I am starting on my next one, which is another Rockford High book. So it'll be the second one in my Don't Bet on Love series. So I'm super excited to start that.
And I'm really excited about Victorine's Sweetwater one because her main character is in love with my main character in my book. And so I'm kind of excited to see Lucas and Charlotte in Victorine's book. I actually read the first chapter and was like, oh my gosh, this is so good. So I was loving it a lot. Except for you said he looks like Liam Hemsworth. And I was like, no. He looks like Chris Hemsworth, not Liam.
Wrong one.
They need to make that little change. But
I'll change it.
All right, Lee, why don't you tell us what you're up to?
Well, I just finished my going over the manuscript for my co-writer. She took an old trilogy of mine that I'd pulled down. It was the first thing I published. It was bad. But I loved it. It was based on a myth of Persephone and Hades, and it's kind of dark. I write dark. So I tossed it to her, was like, she either is going to never mention it again, in which case I'll never bring it up. But she read it. She's like, yes. So she put her take on it and kind of fixed the plot, gave it a plot. And then I went over it to make sure it had my voice. So we're publishing that in May, and I'm really excited.
Oh, that's awesome. That's a great way to breathe life back into your backlist and make it sell for you, huh?
Yes, trilogy.
That's awesome. All right, Michelle, what are you up to?
I just published my Sweetwater book on Tuesday, and it shot up in the charts because of the pre-order and all the awesome books that went before me in the series. So I got up into the 700s, and now I've just got to try and figure out how to keep it there because I haven't launched at full price before. So it's a little nerve-wracking for me. That's a new one, but I'm excited to try this out and see how it goes. And then I am struggling to finish my the fourth book in my Rich and Famous series. And I think it's probably going to be out before May is over. I'm hoping. I'm trying to set realistic goals for myself because I got burned out and overwhelmed, and that's not a good place to be. So I'm trying to take my time because I have another deadline too, because I have my Regency House party launching on June 11th. And with editing time and pre-order time and all that sort of stuff, I've got to make some magic happen. And but it's fun. I'm excited about all the stories. I think my real passion project that I'm really excited about is my my Summer of First Kisses series that I'm going to be writing next and publishing over the summer. So I'm just got a lot of pans in the fire, but they're all good pans. So
right. And she's getting some good R&R in, which is really important. I think as writers, we forget that we need to take care of ourselves and our creative wells and all those kinds of things.
That's what kind of surprised me because it came after a record month for me, and everything was going awesome and everything was wonderful. So you would think I would just be motivated and excited and energetic, and it was kind of the opposite. I don't know if it's just the pressure of making it happen again, or these deadlines I set for myself. Whatever it was. There's a limit to how much a successful month can propel you into the next one, as I am finding. So good things, not bad burnout, just got to fill my energy well somehow.
Yeah. It's almost that like crippling fear that I have to do this again and continue doing this from now until I die. And what if I can't? And all those kinds of things. So it's just the beauty of creating something and putting it out there and then hoping people love it. And when they do love it, it's also just as terrifying and crippling. So as if they don't like it. So anyways, and I have taken the month of April off, well, half of the month of March and April from releasing, and have been trying to stockpile as many books as I can so that I can get into the rapid releasing, game. And so I have Her Best Friend that's launching on the 15th. I'm halfway through Her Protector, which is the third book in my Braxton Brothers series, but I'm taking a break and writing another one of my Rules series, just so I can keep that series going. And it's also one of my goals that I wrote down for this year. So I'm writing that one. I'm about 31,000 words into it. I'm trying to make it 50,000, and then I'll just publish that right away. And then I have a couple other ones that I'm going to publish in there. And I've decided to hold off on my prep school series just until July. And when Victorine and I get to teach at RWA, we'll be in New York. So I'll feel like I'm going to be in 6 books. I might as well go to New York and know what New York is like, because that's where my prep school is in. And so I'll get a really good feel for it. And then I'll feel more confident coming back and writing in it. So I'm really excited just to kind of be to be ahead of myself, where I'm like, I have a book, it's done, it's published, or not published, it's edited, it's proofed, it's waiting to release. Even though it's done now, I'm going to still give it those extra days so I can get Her Protector a lot more closer to being finished. So that way, after that launches, then I have to write the second one. So I'll just be a book ahead of myself, which I think will help with the stress especially since it's coming summer and we're all going to have kids home. So being ahead of myself is best. So that's what I'm up to. Now I want to welcome Lee. I met her through the Facebook ads course person I took. She had videos with that. And then I joined her millionaire mastermind. What is it? Millionaire author mastermind group. There you go. Yeah. And then we were just chatting on Messenger. I was asking her about my brand and what she had advice for me. And so we were chatting. She gave me great advice. And I said, hey, you want to come on our podcast and tell everybody your great advice? And she lovingly said yes. So we're excited that she's here. And I'm kind of just turn the time over to her. And I know some people ask some questions, so we can cover those. But really, I love listening to what she has to say. And hopefully you guys can glean some good advice from her. And I'll just turn it over to you.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for having me. I am a fan of the podcast for sure. I saw Ines on, and that was my introduction to you guys. And it's so fun. I love that this author thing that we do has a great community. And yeah, there's a lot of negativity, but there's also a lot of positive stuff. And I when I started writing romance, I got pregnant. I don't know if that happened to anyone else. I write sexy romance too. So I was like, oh, but with all those hormones, I couldn't deal with any negativity. So I got really focused. And on my author Facebook, it's all positive people and it's all authors and they're all awesome. And I started that Millionaire Author Mastermind group just to be a positive place where people can talk openly about wanting to earn money from their writing, because not everyone wants to do that, and that's fine. But I want to do that, and that's also fine. And I wanted a place where I could just put it out there. And if you don't want to talk about it, don't join the group. I still love you. And then in the group, we're all like, yeah, let's go. Let's make bank. And and it's fun. So I'm going to talk about 5 steps to hit 6 figures, and none of those steps involves Facebook ads. Although I think Facebook ads are great and very powerful, and they will be my strategy to getting to 7 figures, being a millionaire author, I think that it's a good idea to have a solid author career and like have this solid brand. And when I say brand, I don't mean like the color of your website. I mean the series that you have, that your books are this solid brand out there that readers really want more of. And before you put a dime into ads, you kind of know that these books sell. And so putting money into ads only augments the sales. It's not like you're trying to revive a dead horse, which, you know, I have plenty of those. I just talked about, I pulled books down from publication and stuff. So, so steps to 6 figures. First is you're going to do some market research. And I really believe that there's going to be this sweet spot between what you want to write and what readers want. And you can hunt around, and then you're going to learn this. I'm going to tell you, you want to learn this marketing language where you take certain elements out of your wonderful, beautiful story that's totally unique and awesome, and you put them front and center. So for example, I have these like books of my heart, the Berserkers. They're Viking werewolves of 9th century Norway, and they're like berserker warriors. I wrote this book in college. It was my college thesis. I did research on like Vikings. It's an all women's college. I must have been so like staring out the window into the forest, like imagining half naked men running through the forest. I tell people that, yeah, I wasn't sexually active for a very, like, until my mid-20s, so I'm making up for lost time with all these sexy books. Maybe that's TMI. But anyway, I have they're Vikings, and they're sexy, and they're werewolves. So I know werewolves sell, and I would study werewolves. I read a lot of werewolf books. So I was like, okay, werewolves front and center. And the other element that I put in was menage. These are super sexy books. And so it's a man and a woman and a man on the cover. And I make it clear that it's all about the woman. The 2 guys, it's lots of sexy times, you know, and it's obvious because the men are like half naked, you know. And in Romancelandia, you can put like a guy with no shirt on the cover, and readers know what that means. Like a sweet romance, do not do that. So that's what I mean about elements that you draw out. Now, my book can be funny. My book can have jokes about, you know, the Berserker Warriors are always killing rabbits and bringing them to their women. Like, why don't you love my rabbits? Why do you want flowers? I'm giving you, because they're werewolves. Anyway, and they're Vikings, but I don't put the Vikings front and center. I made a decision not to do that because mine aren't really typical historical Vikings. It's kind of a werewolf fantasy world. But there's a wolf on the cover, and then there's the guys. So those elements sell my books. And then the story is unique. Like, people get in there, and it's not really like any other paranormal book they've read. I mean, it is. It has these certain elements, but then the story just sweeps them off their feet, right? Because that's the secret sauce. So let me give you an analogy. If you have a restaurant and it's Luigi's Kitchen and you sell pizza, you want those Italian elements front and center. There's like a flag, and my whole family's in New Jersey. You know, you maybe have like Roman statues in the front lawn, you know, and it's like really, but if people walk in there and you're selling sushi, you see how there's going to be a disconnect. So you've chosen certain elements to pop out. Now, what's interesting is that what people really go to your restaurant for after they've been once is your secret sauce that your mama passed down from Sicily in the lasagna. And so the secret sauce is your story. And we're all artists, and we all can tell stories and have these unique elements. But we draw out the certain marketing elements and put those front and center. And so when I say brand, that's what I mean. I really mean certain keywords. And for me, it was menage and werewolves. Let me give you another example. It's going to be werewolves again. I just love werewolves. I don't know. It's the primal, the big, you know, the alpha male. And wolves are cute. So, So with my friend Renee, we did Bad Boy Alphas. And from that title and the covers, there's a man chest, there's a wolf. You know it's going to be sexy. He's a bad boy, right? And there's a werewolf. You know there's going to be a wolf. So people see those covers, and those two, I mean, we put the keywords right front and center in the title, you know. Alpha's Temptation is book 1, and it's the word alpha's in there. And then the series title is Bad Boy Alphas. It's just so heavy. Like, you want me to take a break and anyone say anything? Okay. So if you want really to distill those elements to be showing up in Amazon search, because Amazon is where we sell most of our books, particularly for me in paranormal romance. It's just very Kindle Unlimited heavy. Your title and your subtitle and your series title are where you're going to put those words that signal the reader for your brand. And you guys have a great example because you have, what is it? Sweet, not Valley High, but Sweet something High.
Sweetwater High.
Sweetwater High. And it's sweet romance.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously it's high school. So right in the title, you have these two keywords that tell readers what exactly is going to be in the book. They know it's not going to be in college. They know it's not going to be on an alien planet. They know it's also going to be like their favorite Sweet Valley High books, right? That was genius, guys. There's a reason you guys are doing well. So what you want to do is, you know, you don't come up with this marketing language and this brand from scratch. You go to Amazon and you read your favorite books, and then you start as what I call a swipe file, and you find author models. So 1 is you're going to start researching your brand, and 2 is you're going to create this swipe file, and you're going to start. I put covers in. I put whole like blurbs and descriptions and images, and you know I make sure I know the sources of all these things, right? And it's for my personal use. But when I have an idea for a series, I can give the cover artist all these covers and be like, okay, you know, and my cover artists are pretty good at being to market. They know that a werewolf romance needs a wolf on the cover, for example. It can't have a butterfly or something. And you laugh, or you'd be like, wait a minute, but I've had coachees who've come to me and it's a werewolf romance, and a butterfly was important to the book. So they had butterflies all over it, but that was their secret sauce. I was like, you get one butterfly, but you need a wolf. You need a big wolf, but you can have one little butterfly. And then the story can have as many butterflies as you want, right? So
Lee, I have a question.
Yes.
So when you were telling us about your Berserker series and how it was Viking, why did you choose not to? Like, so people who are writing books, and it's very complicated books. So for us, not so much, because it's just, you know, it's more the tropes that we're showcasing and less of the other elements to a book. But let's say you were writing something that was very like lots of different elements or something like that. Like, why did you decide not to showcase the Vikings, and what led you to decide not to do that? Like, and how could you advise somebody like, yes, add Vikings, no, don't add them?
So the Viking element, it's more of a fantasy world because there's no such thing as werewolves. And so it's not historically accurate. So I'm not going to lead with that.
Right. So you're saying people who were wanting to read Vikings books would want to have the historical things correct.
Front and center, and no werewolves. They can have pet wolves, but they can't be turning into wolves.
And so you think people would think, oh my gosh, no, but this is the cool part. You know, this is something that nobody's ever thought of before. It's Viking werewolves. Like, why wouldn't that be what's like going to draw people in?
It's the secret sauce. And I also tested. I put out on the blurb, you know, these are guys and they want to claim their mate, and tried it that. And then I did another one where it was like a Viking, and that didn't go as far. And werewolf romance was just a bigger category, and it fit more. Like, I never tried to mislead anyone and say this is a strictly Viking book. It was just more I had the word Viking in the blurb a few times, and it just didn't test to be something that made people click.
Yeah, that's I think that's kind of similar to what I've done, because a lot of my young adult books deal with like social issues in them, or like the dad leaves and they have to solve the mystery of why he did. But in my blurb, I make sure to just focus on, because I want to get the romance readers, and so I just focus on the tropes, like of the best friends to lovers things, and then as they get into it, they discover that it's about this other thing also. So it sounds like that's kind of
that's your secret sauce.
Yeah.
That deepens your story. That when you're writing, you're pouring out your heart. I'm not telling you not to do that. Your books are going to get followers and readers who return to your restaurant, to get back to the food metaphor, because of those elements. They're in love with that. But you want to be front and center with stuff that's going to make people click, because they're thinking, oh, this book is like this other sweet water high book. You know, and you guys did it by just putting it in the same series, which is another way to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, make a swipe file and start collecting. And that's how you learn the marketing language. Is I don't sit down and write a book without ever having to read a book. Why would I sit down and write my book description without ever having read another book description? I save them. And I have them from different, because I follow the sexy and the bad boys and the top 100 books that are, you know, really hot, that are kind of close to they're what I like to read. But then I use them for my own brand, and it becomes my own. You know, all of these elements together. I don't think you're going to look at me and be like, oh, she totally just cloned Madison Faye. Even though I've sent covers from Madison Faye, whom I love her brand, to my cover artist and said something like this, please, for the menage. So make that swipe file. That's how you do your market research. And it's fun. It is really like being a chef. You're collecting all these elements, and don't be afraid to change it up. Like when I started, somebody asked me like, what would I do differently if I started over? And it was like, I would have graduated college, and I wouldn't even gone to college. I would have just started self-publishing in 2008. Like that's what I would have done differently. Like thrown all those books up there that I had, and we're all nodding. But I went with a publisher, and I kind of tried to fit their brand, and it was a good stepping stone. It was a good learning experience, but it taught me what not to do. And it's better to write the books of your heart, and it's better to study what the cover should be and not go, well, I like Monet paintings, so I'm going to put a Monet painting on my cover. And a lot of people who are watching this know not to do that. But I think that the swipe file will help you even hone in further on
Well, I think it's important to say though, like, don't copy though. You know, like it's good to have inspiration boards, but make sure that you use it for that reason, but then you go find something that you enjoy that speaks to you, because you don't want to just be another Madison Faye look-alike. You want to make your own brand. You know, you want to be your own self. So don't, you know, use it as inspiration, but don't use it as like the templates. Like, okay, I want to sell as well as she does, so I'm going to just do exactly what she does in her books and in her blurb and in her covers, because not only will you frustrate the author, but I think you won't get as loyal of readers, because Madison Faye readers are completely loyal to her. And I see this a lot in messengers between authors and message boards, where they're like, I wish I had the fan base of X, where all they have to do is put out a book, and no matter what, people will buy like crazy. And that's what we all need for our individual self. It's not you trying to take readers from Madison Faye and share. You need to go find your own reader loyal base. You know what I mean?
Yeah. As someone whose cover has been exactly duplicated to the font, the layout, and it was an alpha book. And I kind of was like, well, if they're a good writer, it'll sell. But there are other things on my list that I'm about to tell you of what to do to make six figures and to be like Madison Faye. And just putting out one book with the same layout isn't going to do it. So start, yes, there's only a certain amount of layouts that we can have. Like your title has to be somewhere on the book. Like I was like, whatever. She copied me. It's fine. But the book didn't sell because she doesn't have our base. And she'd be better off doing her own thing. And yeah, you're right. So, yeah, I was just talking about Madison Faye to my friend, and Madison Faye is having a great time. You can tell. You can read her books, and you can see, or her blurbs. You can see that she's just having a blast. Her covers are beautiful. Her just everything about her brand. Like, I'm gushing over her. She's definitely one of the 3 or 4 author models that I have, and that's a good way, by the way, to kind of allow yourself to have success. Sometimes we do something successful. I mean, we were just talking about this. You have a successful month and you're like, what now? But if you feel like you're modeling someone else and following in their footsteps, then the success can come and you feel like, no, this is right. I'm on the course, versus feeling like an imposter. And that's for me anyway. And that's why I follow people like Skye Warren, who has a great newsletter out. And other authors I know who are at 7 figures, and it's crazy. And I watch them, and they do these things. They have brands, and they love on their readers. They deliver. Yes, they're writing to the tropes, but it's their own story and they have their own secret sauce. But they're putting those elements front and center of what will sell their book. The other, I guess I'm on step 3. I really want people to think in terms of series. Not just a standalone, but once you get a book out and it does well and you can write in a world, a series is a way to make a career. And I'm preaching to the choir and everyone here because you guys write series. But like Facebook ads, I am not an expert. I have hired experts, but it's hard for me to go wrong to point an ad at book 1 and there's 12 books in my series. I can lose money on book 1. I can lose money on book 1 and 2. So I can bid pretty high. I can, test out different images, and I still make a great ROI because a reader comes in and, even if 20% of them go all the way through 12 books. So a series is a good way. And that's why I say, once you get a brand and you put out a book and it's kind of tested, you're getting the elements together, go ahead and invest in a series and put out 2, 3, 4, 5.
For your series, is it the same couple throughout the whole series, or is it a different couple each book?
Different couples, same world. So the other couples might have cameos, but they're completely standalone. Now that would be different if you write mystery,
Yeah, you were talking about that where you said that they got together slowly throughout each of the books. In the mystery one, I don't remember what it was called, but I was watching one of your videos on your mastermind group.
Yeah. So, for example, urban fantasy. Usually there's a kick-ass heroine or guy wizard, and there's love interests. But romance is about the dance between 2 people and they're becoming one. And after they're together, we want to start over and go through that again. So you could write a trilogy. But when I say series for romance, I mean like Sweet Water High. I keep wanting to say Sweet Valley High, guys. Sorry.
That's okay. That was
on purpose.
That's great. So Sweet Water High, obviously same world, different characters are doing different cameos, but it's completely standalone. And because readers will come into your world in book 12, and then they'll go back to the beginning and read all the way through, and that's what you want. And that's why I say you could do this without ads, because
can I ask one question really quick?
Yes.
So would you stop at book 12 or would you ever continue farther than that?
Oh, this series. What we might do is what I call reboot the series. So it's still the same world, but we start a new series page. And that's just kind of for ease of readers, like the alphas, we want to reboot it and do a bunch of new werewolf people, a pack in a small town, and have like a small town romance feel for these bad boy shifters. Mm-hmm. And we would reboot it and do a new series page. And I've done that with Berserkers. Berserkers, there's 5 books, and now there's 7 and counting.
So Judy, for your book, since you write YA, you could do a new school year. but keep the Ridgewater High. You could keep like all the same teachers, the school, same layout, a lot of the same things that readers can recognize. But maybe even like younger siblings of the main characters that you have could now be so that would be a way you could reboot it, is what you're saying.
So I would still call it like Ridgewater High series, or would I do?
You could do Ridgewater High class of blah, blah, blah.
Okay.
Yep, exactly. LJ Shen just did this. She did all the parents in high school and whatever, new adult, and now she's doing the kids, believe it or not. It's really cool and we can't get enough. So
it's kind of like what 90210 did. The old
exactly. And you can choose to do a new series page, or you can just keep adding them. Now, I will say, when we do a big launch, because we do big launches for the Bad Boy Alphas, we do not link it to the series, because we don't want a reader to, we're putting what, 10 grand behind this? We don't want people to see, oh, it's book 12. No. I'm not going to buy book 12. I have to start at the beginning, thinking that they're not standalones when they really are standalones. Like, you will get a lot if you read the whole world because it's fun, but you can read this couple alone. So we don't link it to the series until the launch is done, and then we link it so that they're all lined up right there. And that's great real estate on Amazon.
So
does that make sense?
It won't have the 12 on it at all?
Not until we link it.
Okay. And how long do you usually wait to link it? Because I'm about to do book 6, so I'm like, I want to...
Right. After launch, so if your launch is 2 weeks or a month, like if you're going to spend money on Facebook ads, we wait until the ads kind of peter out. So let's say a month or so, and then we'll go ahead and add it. And after 12, I think Amazon, you have to email them and say, hey, I'm continuing the series. It doesn't always.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, now I've heard people say different things because they're like, people don't want to get into a series or find a book if there's not more books in the series that they like. So some people like to see series, like more books, because they're like, well, if I'm going to invest my time, I want to be able to read lots of books by this author or lots of books in this series. So like I've done it where I've tried not to link it, but then Amazon's like, oh no, these supposed to be linked somehow. And so I'm like, well, great. Now they're linked. I didn't mean for that to happen, but like right now I'm launching Her Best Friend, but it's now linked to Her Boss. They linked it together, even though I didn't tell them to do it. And so I'm like, sometimes Amazon, you're like, what are you thinking in both directions? But I'm interested to see, like, if someone gets to the page and they find the first book, that if they're going to be like, oh, I can buy or I'll buy both books at the same time because there's 2 of them there now. You know what I mean? So I'm like, I've tried that too, and I think that's great. But I'm also interested to see how this goes when I'm running ads to the new book, if it's going to deter people or if they're going to get the first book. I don't know.
I tend to think it kind of depends on where you're writing a little bit. I think in romance, your readers are expecting standalones in a series. And I think if you're writing more in the fantasy, paranormal type thing, there's always that thought, is it a standalone or is it not? So I think that it's probably a little bit more cut and dried in contemporary romance.
Right, where they would say it might be, they might show up in other people's books, but the romance of this couple is going to start and end within this world of book. Okay. That makes me feel a little better because I'm like, oh no, I'm going to ruin my launch.
No, I think it's fine. Sorry, go on.
Oh, I was going to say, I have heard some contemporary romance authors say that they've had that experience though. But I haven't had that experience yet, but I haven't gotten past a book 5 in a series yet. But I will say that I do see with every new book in a series that I have a surge of sales on the books before when it launches. So to me, in my experience, when I link it, they go back and they say, oh, there's more, because I find new readers with that 4th book, and then they want everything. So that's why I think every brand has to experiment and figure out.
Well, maybe since your urban fantasies have more of that fantasy element, I could see why you would say don't link them, because it depends on how they're coming into it. Are they coming into it looking at it in the romance area, or they're coming to look at it in the urban fantasy? Because like what she said, urban fantasy, a lot of them are chronological and you have to read them in that order. So that would make sense.
But then also, like with what Lee was saying, like even if it's not linked, you could still have the back matter to show that it is. So,
right.
Yeah.
Your fans are going to find your books. So I'm just talking about when we're about to dump 10 grand on a launch, we just don't want that extra book 12. That's all. But that was also for us, our decision. And we're very close to contemporary romance with bad boy alphas. We're writing bad boy romance, basically. They just also happen to be werewolves because I love werewolves. What you just said was brilliant because you said that when you write a new book, it lifts all of the books in the series. So that's why I said you can do this without ads. Now, ads are smart because if you can put, we just said $10 in, and get 20 out. Why would you not do that? But you can get that. I don't like going into debt. I like spending ads with money that's in my bank account, and it's not like my entire bank account. So a percentage is going back into my business. And that happened because I had a series and I would just pop out a new book. So after step 3 is write a series. Step 4 is rapid release. Yes, that's what today is about. Amazon likes fresh content. People go watch new movies. It's just the way it is. But if you have this solid brand and series, every new release sells your backlist, and it's awesome. It's awesome. Like I have turned off ads completely and tested. It's more powerful than running ads if you just launch a new book. And that's why when I coach people, oftentimes I'm telling you, head down, don't look at your reviews, don't check your rank once, write the next book. So once you have the story. Yeah.
So if I could jump in really quick. So I have been trying to learn the whole Facebook ad thing, and Amy's been a darling coaching me through it all and helping me because my brain just doesn't quite get it yet. And it stresses me out really bad. And I said, okay, I can't do this right now. So I'm just going to focus on what I do know how to do, which is releasing this series as quickly as I can. So in April, I made $14,000 with only $400 in one promotion, like no ads at all. It was just getting my books out there and selling them. So, I totally agree with you that there's definitely a way to sell books without putting a lot of ad spend on it. And I'm not saying I'm never going there in the future at all. I'm just saying I've had success without it for sure.
Boom. Perfect example. Because I really want people to get money in their bank account and it not be going towards. There are some people who will tell you to go big on ads, and I have gone big on ads, and I'm not saying not to do that, but I don't like debt. I like a viable career. Like I want to be doing this in the next 10 years. I want good books. I want readers who love them. And yes, I want to have a flashy brand that attracts readers, but there's no gimmicks here. It's all solid. And your front list can sell your back list. So the final thing is pure marketing, and we've all heard it before, but I'm going to say it in case you guys. I wish I had a bat inscribed with the words mailing list, and I could hit people on the head with it. I know that it would be a foam bat. It would be nice. It would be silly. I'd be like bang, 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 because I really want people to get that mailing lists are incredible. And this is Internet Marketing 101. I go to parties and people can't stand next to me because whatever business they have, they're like a hypnotherapist. I'm like, do you have a mailing list? They're like, I teach swing dancing. I'm like, do you have a mailing list? And then I rant about it for 15, 30 minutes, telling them how they could have success and no ad spend. And they just send an email and they get all these customers. And my husband's like, I can't take you anywhere. And that's why I coach people. So I could give people advice and they want the advice. Right? But you must have a mailing list, and you just do it, and it's going to be great because when people are on your mailing list, you can take them anywhere. Facebook could get shut down by the government or something tomorrow, and you still have this core of email addresses. By the way, for Facebook ads, you upload your mailing list. You make sure, everyone's opted in and you've gotten permission from them. Is permission marketing? They said, yes, here's my email. I'm allowing you to email me and market to me. But you can upload that to Facebook and create an audience of those people. And then you can create a lookalike audience of those people. So if you wanted to start easy with Facebook ads, you could start with the mailing list. So I know I've talked a lot about Facebook ads, and I was like, you don't need Facebook ads, but Facebook ads are powerful and great. So they really are fun. Anyway, I think that's 5. I didn't really number my list, but it was, just, work on your brand and build that swipe file, write in a series, rapid release, and build a mailing list. And if you can do those things, and I think we've all put out books and they haven't quite, but that you learn from that, right? And guess what? Sometimes those books do have elements that you're like, well, wait a minute. He's a cowboy, and I could just put a cowboy on the cover, and it would make more sense. And maybe I should change the title to roping her in, or roping his, I don't know, like something. I don't read a lot of Westerns, but you start to study those books, and then you read a few, and you're like, well, I have Westerns with mountain ranges covers on them. They're horrible. Don't do mountain ranges. And they're really, really kinky. So it's this landscape, and people read it, and it's spanking, and it's the wrong thing. I needed a man chest and a guy with rope, he's going to tie her up. This is not safe for work, guys. I'm sorry. I should have put a disclaimer. But that's it. That's your steps to 6 figures. You can go back and and when I coach people, I go back and I try to find those things in their books. But with Ines Johnson, Shanae, who was on the show, she decided to just start over with a new pen name, and she just went into clean romance. And she had, oh my God, the most killer titles: The King and the Kindergarten Teacher. It's the tropes right in the title. The cover is, as a sweet couple. It's just obvious. She put it front and center. And I think it was our conversations about how to think this through that helped her launch that pen name. She can speak for herself. But yeah, don't be afraid to go back through and re-envision some of your backlist, or just start a new series and be like, let me try this. And I hope it will put you on the path to writing something awesome that readers also love.
So let me ask you a question. So you started with your mountain range series with the Westerns, and then you moved and you have your berserkers, and then you have your alpha males. How did you get readers? Because they seem pretty different. Did you find that readers followed you? Because you're saying build a brand around a series, right? And get people into your world. But let's say you don't want to write 15 books in the same world. You want to move on. How would you suggest that an author does that and still retain their readers? Or do you lose some and you're okay with that?
I lose some and I'm okay with that, but also it's all sexy romance.
Okay.
So the one theme,
it's just a different flavor of that romance, but it's still that romance.
Ding, ding, ding. Yeah. So if I was going to write children's fiction or clean, sweet romance tomorrow, I would do a different pen name. Mm-hmm. But everything's under Lee Savino. And I did have a kind of YA book up, and then a short story that was a sweet novella. I pulled those down. And everything, from beginning to end is sexy, very sexy, and kind of kinky. A lot kinky.
So you're saying, if you write just romance, where it's sweet romance, that you can really play with different types of romance inside of that umbrella, and you have readers following you, is what you're saying.
Possibly. You might want to separate it out. My co-writer separated it out because she wanted her also bots to be really pure. But I came from kind of an erotic writing background, and it's pretty common to kind of hop around and just have these sexy erotic scenarios on an alien planet with a werewolf in medieval times. in the office in contemporary romance times.
Okay.
So it kind of fit my background.
Right.
Yeah. So no,
Well,
I would
and-
not necessarily. It would depend
And
on the
when you
person.
when you talk about also bots, so I used to be all about clean also bots, right? Where I'm like, I have all sweet romance in it. But then I started thinking about it and I'm like, but if I have somebody's sweet romance book in my also bots, or if I'm in their also bots, but they're ranking 100,000 in the store, I don't want to be on their also bots. I want to be on the also bots of people ranking 100 in the store. And so like I was starting to give up a little bit of that strategic, like, no, I have to be, stringent on it, because I was like, romance readers, they don't have this black and white like we think they do, like, oh, if they read sweet, then they're not going to read erotica, or if they read erotica, they're not going to read sweet. I think people have a huge spectrum of what I'm like, I'm sure you like sexy romance, but I'm sure you'd watch a Hallmark movie.
Yeah.
Or like a PG-13 one that doesn't go all the way, So I'm like, I think we box readers in and say, oh no, they're not going to like this.
Which is why my werewolves and then my cowboys, like, people did come with me. I will say that this is going to sound kind of elitist, but my friend Stasia Black will talk about when you're in the top echelon, you're just in the top echelons also bots. It's like you and all the people who are selling a lot.
Right.
So there's something to what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
She's a top 100 author, so she doesn't care. You're top 100. I want you in my author spots.
Well, when I've hit top 100 and I've hung out in top 100, that's when I'll go and I'll be like, oh, I'm on top 35. I'm on their second page, or I'm on their first page. And I'm like, this is what's helping me keep high. And I don't think it really matters so much that that's a spicy book, but I'm not a spicy book. Like, I think you want to get visible, you want to get seen. And I think when readers, like, if you were to go from contemporary, and then to alien romance, I think you'd have a hard time. But since you kind of started out in more like mystical creatures, you could probably have people do that and convert to contemporary more than you could the opposite direction. You know what I mean? Like, people who are like, the more mystical type romances, I'm sure could be okay with contemporary. But I wonder if that switch is...
Well, I know Anna Zares has aliens and then dark romance, but her aliens are pretty dark. There's a dark flavor. So it is kind of uniform, and she's not hurting. So
right.
So you can find author models where you can see what they've done. But, someone said to me, if you're going to make a big swing into contemporary romance, you need to do a different pen name, because people will see the werewolves and they won't click. And I've taken that under consideration. Lee Savino is my middle name and my maiden name, and then there's an emotional attachment to that name. So if it's sexy and kind of my Lee Savino-ness, it's going to be under that pen name. I'm not going to just separate it out just because one's an office romance and one's an alien romance. But that's a personal decision.
Right.
So, and it depends. That's why I coach, is because I'm like, I want to give specific advice. I don't want to just sit, and the more specific, the better, right? Because then you can like use it.
Well, and I think writing in different types of romance, you find out what you love and you find out what your readers love. So like, we were chatting about this and I found out where my readers are, and now I can cater to them, which I don't think I would have discovered that had I not done different types of books, different types of tropes, different types of age categories. Like, I would never have discovered that. And now I can say, okay, I'm going to focus on that. So like, don't think, well, no, I've only created myself as a billionaire author, therefore they will never follow me. Like, write different things, discover what your readers like, and then you have more hyper focus. Because I think when we first write a book, we don't know what we're doing. We don't know what our readers want. We don't even know what we want. And so we just put something out there. But if you just say, oh no, I can only box into this world, then you're never going to get out. And you can never see the possibility of what you could create if you gave yourself a little more leeway, Because I think a whole year of writing, like I've written now, it's been almost like it's a year and a half I've been writing, and I'm like, man, I made some stupid choices. Like, why did I do that? But I can see each step I took brought me to the point where I am now, where I can say, here's where I need to be. I need my series to be interconnected. I can no longer be like, no, I'm not going to do that because it's way too hard. I'm like, I have to put in the time and the effort. because after I did my video game through this company, there are so many reviews on there that says, I want more of Tyson. Please make a part 2. Please write more of these characters. I want to see them again. And I've never experienced that before, to see how much readers fall in love with your characters and they want to see them. They want to see them again and again and again because it's exciting for them. And I know, oh, they're in love. They're still happy. That makes me happy, you know? And so then I'm like, okay, I got to change my whole idea. I should have to change my whole level of thinking. And it kind of stinks to be like, it's like a knife to my gut that I have 10 books of my adult series that are not interconnected. And it's way harder to sell them because there's not that drive that makes people want to answer that question. Are these people still happy by book 5? Are they still together? Are they pregnant? Have they gotten married yet? And everybody wants to know that. So now looking back and seeing that, I'm like, it's so painful though. Those are so many words I wrote. But I would have never figured it out had I not written them and came to this point. So there's Amy's epiphany for the evening. It's so nice to have people who are smarter than you that you can talk to, that have done it and can say, Amy, don't be dumb anymore. Figure your crap out. And then you'll make money, right? You'll make lots of money. So
right. Well, we're all learning, and we learn from each other. So if people are watching this podcast, I mean, they're so far ahead of where I was, you know.
Right. I was like, where was this podcast when I was starting out?
That's why we're doing it. You said something. I want to take 2 minutes to talk about what readers want, because this is going to tie into what you were just saying about writing your feelings. Readers want feelings. And I will tell you something right now. Alpha males, werewolves, aliens, pirates, dukes, billionaires, they're all the same. What are they? They're alpha males, and there's this primal thing that tells you they could take care of me. Now, I categorize. Cowboys are like the pirates and the aliens, right, of the Wild West, right? They're on the fringe, which means they're badass. They're like super powerful. Billionaires are the same thing as dukes in England, right? They're wealthy, they have status. So you can protect, they can protect you and your family. So if you really look at what readers want, the feelings go pretty deep. Someone was like, I don't understand alien romance. I don't get it. I was like, it's pirates in space. They got it. They were like, I love pirates. You know, I love the like bad boy on the fringe. He's the one that father would never allow me to marry. There's an abduction, right? She's an heiress. She gets swept off into the high seas. Same thing, only it's in space. That's what aliens are, okay? So readers want a feeling, and that's why a new author can enter in with this book that just explodes. And people are like, what? It's because they've been envisioning that kiss scene for a decade, and they finally typed it out, and it came from their heart, and readers open it, and you know what? It's maybe not the most polished piece of work, but the readers get it because it's like, this is what I want. I wanted to feel that kiss. I wanted to feel that meet cute when they first lock eyes across the high school, you know, dining room or whatever. Like the heartbeats. That's what readers are wanting. So if you put those feels in, yes, I talked a lot about elements to elevate, you know, of your brand and put on the cover. But the story and those feels, if you got those in there, whether it's motorcycle dudes who are like cowboys, right? It's on the fringe. They're like the pirates. They're like the Vikings. They're all the same. Whereas the billionaires are the dukes and the rich guys. Anyway, so deep down in romance, the readers are looking for the feels, and they're looking for that alpha protector or that warrior type. Or they want a nice guy. They want the beta male. They want the royal guy who marries the commoner story, right? So you can go deep into, you can get this pretty simply, and it's by following your own heart and your own like fairy tale romance. So I might have made it a little too like flashy and marketing speak, when really it's about the feels. And so it's just funny because you were like, well, you can write across the genres, and how does that, or the subgenres, and how does that work? Well, it's because these males are the same. They're just in different worlds, and they're in different scenarios. And if you can write those feels, and if you can world build, your readers will stick with you long enough for you to develop great plots and voice and fancy prose and stuff like that. You don't even need that stuff as much as long as you're connecting here. All right.
Well, and I think that's where the danger of copying comes in, because then you're never discovering yourself as a writer and where your special talents lie and your special sauce that you talk about. Like you don't discover. So it's good to focus on the marketing, but it's also so important to focus on the craft and to focus on the things that you love and to make sure that those are coming across as you write and that your readers are having those feels. But if you're like, well, if I tried to write alpha male werewolves, it would be a terrible book because I wouldn't know how to do it. Now, I would love to figure out a way to make like Stephanie Meyer did Sweet Werewolves and Vampires. And it's so like insanely good because I think the quadrants of people you'll catch is bigger. Because I think people will go from erotica to sweet, but not necessarily from sweet to erotica. So you get a lot more readers in that pool if you're writing sweet, right? But I'm always trying like, how do you write an alpha male in sweet? And I've been talking to these ladies about it because I'm like, that's a hot trope. It's so hot, but I can't. It's
bully.
Hard.
Did you read A Walk to the Remember?
Yes.
He kind of was a bully, a little bit. Someone asked me to explain bully romance. I should post that video. That is an example of you putting the conflict right front and center. Because bully is the most opposite of word I can think of to the word romance. Like, how do you go from one to the other? That's why it's hot right now. Just like Viking romance used to be that way. Because Vikings were bullies. You know, they were historical bullies. They were awful people. They were like murderers, you know, and pirates too. So that used to be like, what? You know, shock value. Now it's like Johnny Depp is hot. Pirates are awesome. But bully romance, we're like, how do you do that? So yeah, you could make him a bully, but then, you know, she has to tutor him. And a bully is an alpha male, right? You know, he's in your face, but you have to give him a twisted past. So then we forgive him. And then she heals his heart. And that's the romance.
It's that perfect Beauty and the Beast story where he is this like broken, harsh individual and she heals him. Every woman wants to be that person. And I was thinking about too, you were talking about the males. I was like, because there are some actors that you see and you'll say, you're cute, but you will never be the heartthrob. I'm sorry, you just won't, because women have these specific ideas that they think of, like you said, a protector, somebody who's going to, and that's what they want to read about. And I feel bad for them and they'll get married and they'll be happy in the real world. But when you're in a fantasy world and you want that break, you need that like big, strong man, you know, the beast that's going to come save me. And I'm going to, you know, like, because when the beast goes to fight off the wolves and saves her, like, that's like the best part of Beauty and the Beast, because you're like, oh, he cares about her. He ran after her even after he scared her. So anyways, okay, we could talk about this all night long because this is so fun. Do we have any questions? Was anybody watching the YouTube channel? We had a ton of people on. We still have 25, so we're super happy you guys are still here with us.
We do have some questions. Was somebody assigned to do that?
Why don't you do that, Michelle?
Okay. Let's go up to the top. So somebody asked if they wanted a little bit more clarification on the secret sauce. They want to know, is it the tropes or themes? I think they just want a little clarification on what secret sauce is.
So the secret sauce is a big category. It's all the artistic parts of your story that aren't necessarily the tropes that you're putting out there front and center to sell the book. So it could be that your hero has blue eyes, you know, or your heroine's a nurse and you were a nurse. So you can write that nurse world really, really well, but you don't put a woman wearing scrubs on the cover necessarily. If it's a royal romance, you put the Duke on the cover or the whatever. And then in the book, the secret sauce is that element that, you know, the readers fall in love with this nurse character, but she's not ending up front and center to sell the book. Does that make sense?
Yeah, perfect. Okay, so Danielle wants to know how many books you would have stockpiled before you launch a brand new series.
So I am a big fan of doing a tester book and seeing how it goes. So that would be 0, stockpile nothing. Now that I know what I'm doing, like I'm going to launch a trilogy, but I know what I'm doing. It's a trilogy that I launched before badly and took down. Now I know what I'm doing, and I have these 3 books that I'm going to go boom. But if you're new and starting out, I do a tester book. I'm a big fan of novellas, and I love like getting invited to box sets, and I have this wacky story idea, and I like not sure how to sell it. I just put it in there, and it gives me time to think about how to sell it and see if readers appreciate it and stuff like that. So I have all these like little novellas that I then will make longer or develop more. But I'm a big fan of test it.
Yep. Perfect. That's a great idea. I love novellas too. Truly wants to know where she should start. I'm assuming she truly wants to know about funds to get started as an author. Do they need a small business loan? How to get capital?
I would bootstrap it completely. I got one of my Berserker covers off Fiverr. And it was not, I thought it was horrible, but the fact is it was a great Berserker cover. Like it hit the tropes perfectly. But that was like what, $25? And then editing, if you're really strapped and you can't pay an editor a couple $100, you could do a swap maybe with an author who's a good editor, and you could do theirs or something. But do not go into debt. Do not put a mortgage on your house. Bootstrap it all the way. I have 0 ISBNs, guys. I just throw books up on Amazon, and I make enough that I should buy some ISBNs, to be perfectly honest. I told my husband that today. But I like just write the book and save up $100 and get a great editor for as much as you can pay them, or swap services and bootstrap it completely.
Yeah, you don't want your creativity based on your next credit card bill, because I think once that starts piling up, then you will deflate like a balloon. I think that stress beyond, like, we've all pretty much bootstrapped our own writing, and now if we don't want to put out a book, we don't have to. And I would never force myself into a creative like need. Like I do it because inside of myself I need it, but I don't ever. The only thing I have a credit card just to get miles, but I deduct it from my account every time I spend it. So I know at the end of the month that I haven't gone over. But you should tell them, Lee, because I think it's really inspirational, what you have to make per day to hit 6 figures and what you have to make per day to hit 1 million.
So easy math, 300 a day is 6 figures. As soon as you hit that, you need to be thinking, I'm a 6-figure author. And that's when you do start spending money, and you don't spend 50 hours answering emails and delivering books when you could have a service do that for $20 a month. So 3,000 a day is a millionaire author. It's actually 200.
I'm waiting for that day. I need $1 million day.
Yes.
So anyways, I think that's cool. When you break it down like that, I'm like, man, all you have to do, just 300. That's all you have to make today. And you can be a 6-figure author. For
$50 a day, you could be a stay-at-home mom and have an amazing part-time income. $100 a day, you could, God, I made $30,000 a year for years. I went to school for creative writing. I knew I was going to be broke. And that's where I learned my bootstrapping, is I lived lean and mean. I don't spend money. Now I spend money. Don't tell my husband this. He's going to walk in and be like, wrong. She spends money. But I have millionaire days. So boom.
There you go. That's my goal. That's my life goal right there, to get one of those.
No, that's the first step, is to get one of those. And then you want more. More millionaire days. The goals keep growing. Okay. Then Christy wants to know what you can do to try and get on the also bought list you want, instead of where Amazon sticks you.
Newsletter swaps. Big newbie mistake. Do not spend money on newsletter promos. Like sales. If you can get a BookBub, get the BookBub. That's worth it. But BookBub is very segmented. And most of those other places aren't as segmented as they should be, right? So don't say I need sales and run out and buy a bunch of book promo. You'd be better off building your mailing list and getting book swaps. How do you build your mailing list? Remember that tester book that you wrote to see if the series would fly? Well, if that could be, something of that length could be your freebie, and you give that book away for free to anyone who signs up to your mailing list. Boom. And if you make it about characters that, they met in another book and they want to see their wedding, and you make it the wedding scene, oh my gosh, people will be like, how do I download this? I get emails every week. Like, where is it? They had a baby and you wrote about it. And where is this book? It's right there. Well, my website, free, Berserker Birth.
Christy wants to know, when you say you write different things, do you mean within the romance genre? I'm considering working on a YA fantasy series where romance is second to the main story.
Well, and that would work if you wrote fantasy, right? I think that could fit. But if you don't, that would be probably a separate pen name. I write all within romance subgenres, and it's all sexy.
Okay, so we have a couple questions about novellas. Can you follow the same steps that you gave us tonight and make them work with novellas only? And someone wants to know, is a novella series enough? So
I think the Berserkers are technically novellas. They're so short. But remember my erotica background? Erotica can be short. They're not erotica because they do have plots. It's mainly about the sexy times, but there are plots. And they're about 25, 30. No, I think I shoot for 40,000 now. 40,000 words each book. But 25, 30, as long as it's consistent. Absolutely. And you're delivering what readers want. If you can tell a story in that short, I think Madison Faye is doing that. What am I talking about? How long are her books? I would say, though, if you want to try to get book bubs, they need to be at least 150 pages. So that's something to consider.
So, how long are your regular novels?
So alphas, we want it to be more mainstream, and we shoot for at least 50,000, and it should be up to 70,000. And then I had a baby. So guess what? All my books, they got shorter. But that's what our goal is, 50,000 to 70. And one day I think I'll write books and it'll just be this series and it'll all be 100,000 words and my babies will be grown. I'll have more time. But as long as you set the reader's expectations. So within the series, I think they all should be a uniform length, with the exception of a starter novella. I'm a fan of doing a perma-free or a perma 99 cent, but I don't want to put a full price book at 99 cents. I do the short one. And it can work. Some people will tell you not to do that. One of my co-writers is like, I did that. That's a mistake. But I don't know. If you feel like it's a mistake, pull it down, make it your mailing list freebie.
Okay. And then Jody wants to know if authors should start patrons. I think she means on Patreon.
So I got coaching and I was told, yes, absolutely. Go start your Patreon. Go grab it now. And set it up. I grabbed mine. I didn't set it up. I feel like asking readers to go to Amazon or Barnes & Noble and buy my book is enough. But if I had some genius idea, well, for my author coaching, I'm on Teachable. So Patreon would have been another way to maybe do author coaching and be like, okay, pay me $15 a month and I'll give you new videos every month. But that's, completely different than what I'm writing. So the answer is yes, go grab your Patreon, but it's up to you what you're going to do with it. N.K. Jemisin, who is a Hugo Award-winning author, she uses her Patreon to fund her Hugo Award-winning work. So she's traditionally pubbed. If you want a good model for someone who's doing something on Patreon, go follow her.
Great. So the questions just keep coming. So somebody cut me off if we run out of time. How do you scale if a person has a list of 5,000? Is to scale up the mailing list or paid promo?
Scale up the mailing list. Always, always, always. BookFunnel is the way to do it for super cheap. And go to BookFunnel. They have author promos you can join. And when readers go to they can download your freebie and they end up on your list. It's not like they download everyone's freebie and end up on everybody's list. So it's really nice. They can pick and choose. Whatever. Just go to BookFunnel and use them.
Okay, I have a question for you real quick. Because do we have any more, Michelle?
Not really.
Like we were kind of talking back and forth.
Yeah, I think we're good.
So you took down a series. So now this gets me thinking. So I've got my billionaire series and I've got my married series. So what would you suggest? Maybe what I could do is go back to the books, maybe tweak them a little bit, write maybe one or two beyond that, so I could have like little trilogies that come off of each one. Because I just hate the idea that I'm having these books die. You know,
I wouldn't.
You say you think I should just leave it and let it lie.
Yeah, billionaire romance is tired.
Yeah,
it just is. I would not give a lot of people the advice to go back and rewrite a book.
Okay.
I have watched some authors do that, and it's a grind. And sometimes they come to me and they're like, "Why did I do that? I don't think it's any better." So you could hire someone. You could hire a developmental edit person. I got a co-writer. She completely redid the books because I told her, when I go back to try to fix this book, it's like working with concrete. I need someone to break up the concrete and like start it over. And then I was able to add my voice. But it was only worth doing because it's mafia romance and it fits my brand and I know exactly how to sell it. Like, you should see the covers. Like, oh my God, I know what I'm doing now and it fits my brand. I have pulled down other books that I will not be rewriting, even though they're fine. Like, they just don't fit. I don't throw them away, but they're not going to show up under Lee Savino. So I very rarely would I advise someone to rewrite a book. Recover, retitle, rebrand. I told you to put those all in a box set, and if you want to run a tiny ad to them and get the page reads. But you know what you need to do, and you know what you need to focus on. So, yeah, because I coached you, and I'm not going to tell everyone what I said because I want you to do it, and then I want you to come on here a year later and be like, boom! And maybe you'll remember that I helped you, but you figured it out on your own. So,
right.
Yeah, I would leave those alone because billionaire romance is very tired.
Okay. Well, perfect. Well, we went over, but it was very, very good information. So we appreciate all that Lee gave to us. If you would like to be coached by Lee, I highly suggest it. She's very, very knowledgeable and she can help in suite and other genres. Where can they catch up with you or chat with you?
So if they want, I have an offer up in the Millionaire Author Mastermind where we're going to, like one-on-one coaching and it's a session. I also have a course that I can give you the link to that's no coaching included. It used to have coaching in it, but I've just separated those two so that someone could just get the course. And then if they need more, let's work one-on-one because I do want to help. I do want people to move forward.
And I think what's great with Lee is that we do have a lot of spicy people inside the Writing Gals that ask us questions and we try to give as much advice as we can. But Lee would be a great person if you're a spicy writer to connect with because she has very good insight and can guide you where you need to be. So Millionaire Author Mastermind, or she's also in the Writing Gals group. So you could just tag her in a post or friend her on Facebook and chat with her there. But we want to thank you so much for coming on and chatting with us and giving us all of your information. It was been very great. And I guess we will not have, go ahead, Lee.
I was going to say thank you. Thank you so much. This was awesome.
Yeah, we really appreciate it. And then next week, we will not have a podcast. All four of us are going to be at Storymakers in Utah. So we will be partying there and hanging out. Then the next week, we should have another podcast, but we're not sure what the topic's going to be about. So stay tuned. And if you haven't, please join our Facebook group, The Writing Gals. We are a huge community there and everybody's very kind and nice and very helpful. So please join that. And you do not have to be a writing gal. You could be a writing guy to join. So don't think that we're just only females. And please subscribe below if you enjoyed this video. And it will make sure that it will come up every time we go live. So you can watch us or see us in the after show. So bye.